Hey guys, it's Uncle Doug again, coming to you from one of the ministry houses here, outside of Kansas City. We're Fellowship of the Martyrs, FOTM1 on YouTube, FOTM1 on other social media. I am still digesting. A week or so ago, the Lord led us to go to the Kansas City Pride Fest, and I have a letter I wrote about almost 20 years ago now called the Open Letter of Apology of the World. One of the first things God had me write. I've written, I don't know, 8 books and 3,000 videos and, I don't know, 100,000 emails since then. But the first thing he had me write was an apology for my part in helping build churchianity when it wasn't what God wanted and it hurt people, and to commit to do something different that would more express the heart of Jesus and get us back to the defaults, back to the way church ought to have been. And everything in my walk since then has been to be obedient to the Lord and to be true to that letter. And we have done a lot of things differently to try to change the expression of Christianity and reach a lot of people. So I went to the Pride Fest and just tried to listen to the Lord about who to talk to, and would just walk up to him and ask him if I could talk to him for a second. And I wasn't there to convict them of their sin. I was there to tell them that Jesus is real, that I know that the church hurt them, and that I'm sorry. Even if nobody else tells them they're sorry, somebody ought to acknowledge that the system, the corporations that have been built, aren't what Jesus had in mind and have hurt people, and somebody ought to say they're sorry. And in that apology is then, please don't be mad at Jesus. And I think it's about, I just did a video yesterday about the sower and the seed and the parable, and that somebody needs to start pulling the weeds, pulling the thorns, pulling the rocks, tending the ground, so that the next person that comes by to sow the seed, it might actually land on good ground. Or we just write them off as unreachable and don't try to sow seed there anymore. And I don't think that's what the Lord would want. I think he spent a lot of time as a rabbi with people who never got time with rabbis. He yelled at the institutional system. He yelled at the Pharisees. Most of his harshest things that he said were to the religious people who didn't express the love of God, the justice of God to the regular people. And they were really critical because he went and spent time with prostitutes and tax collectors and publicans and who knows who. Anyway, at the Pride Fest, I didn't know what to expect. I just knew that I was going in humility. I didn't expect a fight. I'm not afraid of anything until you're done doing whatever God tells you to do. You're indestructible anyway. And I've got 20 years plus, more than that, of handling all kind of different people in love and disarming all kind of dangerous situations, from having a gun pulled on me to having a knife pulled on me to lady trying to run my car off the road or whatever. Anyway, I don't know what I expected from the Pride Fest, but what I found was a lot of sincerely, really hurt people. Some deceived and deluded people, and a lot of cosplay. Cosplay is a word combining costume and play, and is used a lot to describe people going to comic book conventions or Star Wars, Star Trek conventions, or where they dress up as characters in elaborate outfits and, you know, do voices and walk differently or whatever to convince people that they're something other than who they normally are when they go to their bank teller job on Monday or whatever. There were a lot of people there, particularly young people, that weren't wounded, weren't particularly demonized, weren't particularly hurt, didn't show signs of pastoral abuse or being molested or whatever. They're just hanging out with their friends, wearing the rainbow skirt that they made. Aren't homosexual, aren't whatever. It's just something fun to do. And this is a difficult conversation. I'm going to get around to how this relates to the church and in a minute. When I've had conversations with mature, thoughtful, logical, reasonable folks that were in some alternate lifestyle or another, they will agree that there's a certain percentage of people in that lifestyle that really are not born that way. They're just really screwed up. In a previous part of my life, I worked running the residence halls at a small Catholic college for 3 years, living right inside the dorm, running the residence life, student life, judicial affairs, risk management, stuff you do in a little college. I coached the tennis team 1 year, I coached the cheerleaders 1 year, whatever. And there was a young lady there 1 year named Colleen. And first semester freshman, by Christmas, we had 3 suicidal gestures. Not really attempts, because she really was a cry for attention. She said she was gay, but the lesbian girls on campus wouldn't have anything to do with her because they're like, honey, you're not gay, you're just screwed up. Well, she decided she was gay because her brother had been molesting her for years and years and years. And the idea of being with a guy was so repulsive to her that she figured she'd be with the girls. But none of the girls wanted her because that's like just all kind of wrong motivation for them or whatever. After the 3rd suicide gesture, I had to take her to the hospital. She said, middle of the 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm doing rounds. Here she comes. Doug, you're gonna kill me. You're gonna be mad at me. I'm like, okay, why am I gonna be mad at you? Well, I took 100 Tylenols and drank a case of beer. Okay, when did you do this? About an hour ago. Okay, you're 5'2", weigh 100 pounds, and you took 100 Tylenol and drank 12 beers. Yeah. And you're standing here telling me this. Yeah. Why did you do this? Well, I wanted to kill myself. I said, Colleen, you know what's going to happen. I'm going to have to treat this seriously, as if you're telling you the truth, take you to the hospital, pump your stomach, call your parents, the whole deal. Yeah. Okay, last chance. Tell me you didn't do this. No, I did. Okay, so the nuns that ran the college also ran the hospital right next door in Leavenworth, Kansas. So we take her over to the hospital, take her to the ER. The doctors are there with the fixing to stick a hose down and pump her stomach. Last chance, Colleen. No, I really did. All right, so they pump her stomach, find a couple of beers and no aspirin, no Tylenol. I got to call her parents. And they come and sit in my office, and my boss is like, she's got to go. She needs counseling. She needs therapy. She's taken an hour of staff time, from everybody here and there. She goes from one to the other, talking, not changing, not growing, not whatever, just wanting attention. And I said, you got to take her home. And her dad's like, oh no, we sent her to you. She's your problem now. No, that's not the way it works. We're not a hospital. We're not equipped for this. This is a college, and she's not ready for college. She'd have got ate up at KU or someplace. So they sent her to the nuns, because the nuns will take care of her. They had a reputation, that school did, for that. And I said, no, you got to take her home. And the dad's all mad. He goes out, smoke a cigarette. The mom is sitting in my office. And starts crying. She says, I don't know what to do. I don't know how this happened. The brother's in jail, awaiting trial. The dad is on the brother's side, kinda. The mom and the Colleen have to testify against him for years and years and years of abuse of her and I think other people. And I'll never forget, Mom sits in my office and says, I can't understand how this happened in my own home for all those years, and I didn't see it. Especially since the same exact thing happened to me. I'm like, the what? Oh yeah, my brother molested me for years. Whew. Well, at the time, I had no background in generational curses or spiritual strongholds or deliverance or whatever. But I remember thinking, well, this is just wicked. This is horrible. This kid was born into a situation bound to do what the last one did. This is horrible. So, this video is not going where I meant it to go, so maybe I'll do the other video some other time. I wish that then I had known how to pray for Colleen and do some deliverance and get her free. She ended up going home with him. I don't know what happened after that. She needed some real serious counseling and therapy or deliverance or something. I hope that she's okay. This was, 1994, maybe 95. A lot of the people that I have dealt with that decide they're homosexual, it tracks back to somebody molesting them. Some of the people insist that they were born this way. If I talk to a reasonable, calm, logical person in this lifestyle, they will agree. Yep. Some of them aren't here because they were born that way or God made them that way. They just decided, or they're following the crowd, or they can't get a man, so they get a woman, or they're bi because they're just lusty and they'll take whatever comes, or whatever. And I frankly don't have a problem with the possibility that you were born that way. Because generational curses are real. And there are families that open doors to all kinds of horrible stuff. Plug my phone in here. And that drips down onto the kids. When a nation doesn't obey God, when the priests don't do their job, and curses fall on a nation, all kinds of depravity, all kinds of stuff happens. And America is thick with turning its back on God and claiming Him while they do horrible, horrible things. And it's been a long time since the priests were really preaching sin like they should have. So I don't think it's right to go to the Pride Fest with God hates you signs or whatever if those are consequences that land on a nation because the church isn't doing their job. And I think we need to respond to the woundedness. Colleen, okay, can you imagine? 18-year-old girl, 100-pound little nothing, cutting herself, drinking too much, hanging out with the wrong people, desperate for attention. I can't tell you, little waif of a person who's sometime in the next year going to have to go to court and testify against her brother, who probably will go to jail forever and probably die there, killed by somebody. And I'm going to call her a sinner because she's trying to make friends with the lesbian girls and I'm gonna march around her room with a sign convicting her of her sin and whatever, instead of seeing the woundedness, instead of dealing with the hurt and how it got to that point, instead of even trying to listen to her and understand. And I spent a bunch of time, me, the counselor, the chaplain, her English professor who was a nun, a couple of other sisters that were there, my residence life staff. I mean, it was sometimes an hour every single day from each of us talking to her. I mean, she wasn't doing classwork. Set a fire in the student union, a bunch of stuff. Anyway, little teeny fire. How can I wag a finger at her as a sinner because she thinks she's a homosexual when really she's walking out this generational curse that is horrifying? Would Jesus wag a finger at her for some sexual lifestyle instead of trying to address the woundedness or the curses or the demons or whatever that was under it all? I wish it wasn't so rare. I wish me going to the Pride Fest didn't seem so unusual. That there were a lot more Christians reaching out in love instead of condemnation. Elevating one sin above another, as if self-righteousness isn't a sin, as if pride and division and faction and the acts of the sinful nature in Galatians, it talks about adultery and perversion and reveling, but it also talks about schools of opinion. What is a denomination except a school of opinion? What is a seminary except a school you go to learn why you're smarter than the guys at the other school of opinion? But then we're going to go take signs to the Pride Parade. I'm not sure the Pharisees should get a pass. They didn't from Jesus. A lot of the folks there, I didn't need to apologize to. They weren't wounded. They weren't hurt. The church hadn't hurt them. They'd never even been around church. No pastor had fondled them. No whatever. I tried to listen to the Lord about who to talk to. And in practically every case, they're like, oh yeah, I know what you mean exactly. And it related to them. But a bunch of people, nope, not that one, not that one, not that one. They're just, for a lot of them, it was just cosplay. It was just an act. It was just costume. It was just something fun. They'll grow out of it. They didn't mean it. They're only there because their best friend was there. A lot of parents were there because their kid, they wanted to support their kid. But they weren't. They just are advocates, whatever. And I got to thinking about this cosplay. And Deuteronomy 28 talks about the blessings and curses of God. And if you're obeying him, he'll prosper you, he'll raise you above, you'll be the head and not the tail. Your kneading trough will overflow, your animals won't miscarry, he'll bless you in all kinds of ways. But if you disobey, then it goes down a long list of stuff. Wasting diseases with no cure. Your children will be taken over and given to another nation you don't know. In the morning you'll wish it was evening, in the evening you'll wish it was morning. You'll be dissatisfied in everything that you see and do. And that one can really wreck a nation. That one is behind my nose is too big, my nose is too small, my hair's the wrong color, I want a bigger butt, I'm the wrong sex, I'm the wrong whatever, I wish I wasn't white, I wish I wasn't black, I wish I wasn't something or other. That dissatisfaction in everything, that's a curse from God for disobeying, keeps you from rejoicing in whatever you are, however he made you, being grateful for whatever he gives you, and resenting whatever you do have. So, whether it's drag queens, whether it's lonely nerds that love Star Trek, whether it's Easter hats and African dress, whether it's pastors wearing skinny jeans with their hair moosed in a little mohawk. There's all kind of ways we pretend to be something we're not. That we try to convince the world of some alter ego. Pentecostal women with hair down to their feet. Because that's holier in their crowd, in their milieu. You know, that's just their convention, their comic book convention. You wear this outfit. There's lots of when I grew up in Mexico, every state has their own traditional dress and folklore dances and whatever. I'll overlay pictures on here. And I get to thinking, it's not like we don't do that in the church. Ecclesiastical robes and fish hats and gold-crusted whatevers and all kind of ways that people put on airs, pretend to be something they're not, try to convince people that their life is different than how it really is. I've known pastors that sound all holy, put on a different voice. Thus saith the Lord! Pound the pulpit, go home. One kid's on crack, one's pregnant out of wedlock. Don't want anybody to know, whatever. I don't know. When we really get close to Jesus, we're free. Free from caring what the world thinks of us, because all we have to do is please Him. I don't edit videos because I burped or stuck my finger in my ear or yawned. I don't, I lost this tooth a couple months ago. Haven't made an appointment with the dentist. Don't know what it'll take to fix it. Don't know if I care. I just got to please Him. I don't really care what the world thinks. Little black church down the city invited me to come speak. I don't know, a month ago. I got sick, but I got to thinking, I don't own a suit anymore. I don't have a tie. I got one pair of slacks, one pair of dress pants, of dress shoes. I got a long sleeve shirt and a sweater that I wore on Dr. Phil that still fits. That's the closest thing to dress clothes I have. And I don't care. If you can't hear Jesus talking out of me, what good's a suit going to do? Or a fancy hat? Or a really good lighting and a loud sound system? Don't get me started on Christian music and how they look like the world or have their own costumes. Striper comes to mind. And I think they were real Jesus loving guys at a time that was a little weird. I don't know. I'm not meaning to diss everybody that wears hair gel. But there ought to be a limit to how much we look like the world, or try to look like the world, or listen to them to shape who we are. And there ought to be a place where we just rejoice in what God gave us and who we are, and let people see truth through us and not try to pretend we're something else. Because we might just be doing it because we're under the curses of Deuteronomy 28 and we're dissatisfied with what He's given us and who we are, and we want to pretend we're something else. We want to convince the church or the world or God that we're not as far gone as we really are. Whatever. I met plenty of pastors with nice suits and horrible hearts. Anyway, I'm not sure what the point of all this is, except be who you are. Find out who He wants you to be and be that. It doesn't matter who the world thinks you are, or what the world says you should look like or act like. It doesn't matter what you think. What matters is what He thinks. And He's real, and He's true, and He's the one that created all of this, so He knows best. It's not even a matter of obedience because He wants to take all the fun out of it or anything. He knows what you're going to enjoy the most. He knows how your life is going to be the most fulfilled, how you're going to be the most grateful, how you're going to be the most useful, have the biggest impact. He's the only one that really knows. So why wouldn't you just listen and do whatever He says? He wants our good. He makes all things work to the good of them that love the Lord and are called according to His purpose. So whatever happens to me, however it looks, how ugly, how painful, how whatever, if I can just rejoice in it, then I have the peace that passes understanding, and my burden is light, and his yoke is easy, and I don't have to worry about the outcomes. I said what I was supposed to say. I did what I was supposed to do. If it goes squirrely, that's not on me. If I obeyed. If I'm just guessing, do I think it'd be fun to be a pastor? Do I think it'd be fun to go to Africa? Do I think it'd be whatever? And I'm not directed by him, then I'm on my own. And there might be some consequences out of that aren't going to further the kingdom or move things forward. But even that might teach me humility and brokenness and a willingness to obey him better in the future. I know that my furniture business, multi-million-dollar company I built in 5 years, was the number 4 fastest growing company in Kansas City. Won all kinds of awards, twice named the most family-friendly workplace in Kansas City. Top 25 under 25 employees, business magazines, whatever. And then one day, he had me look at it, and he showed me that I'd done it in my own strength. That it wasn't what he wanted, and that it was dung. That it was crap. And he used a stronger word, because he can, because he's God and he's real, and so did the men in the Old Testament. Anyway, I cried and threw all the trophies away and said, it's yours, do whatever you want with it. And we started a food pantry and having prayer meetings in the showroom and trusting him all the way, and did that for about a year. Had a homeless lady upstairs, and then he said, you don't really need the furniture store anymore, just do this. What do you want me to do with the furniture store? Throw it in the dumpster, walk away, don't look back, don't take anything, trust me. And I did, and he's been faithful and provided for our every need, and is a good dad. And I've got a great life. I've got a humble life. Live in a mobile home. Drive beat up cars. But I know I'm obeying, and I know we're having an impact, and I know bigger things are coming. And I don't want money. I hate money. But he knows he can trust me, because I'm going to pray about whether to have an ice cream cone or not. Lately, it's mostly not. But anyway, I love you all. I just would like you to think about what's real and what's fake. What's put on. What's an affectation. Look it up if you don't know that word. What's real. I don't think we have room in what's coming of the church that's coming for manipulation and fakery, for ginned up emotionality, for pastors just acting, for leaders that aren't real, for costumes and uniforms to prove something to somebody. I think all that needs to die. And I don't know if I've ever talked about that before, but if we're going to worship in spirit and in truth, don't put on a fancy hat and pretend that you're not beating your kid. Don't spike your hair so the youth group will like you better, but you don't really have a heart for them. It's just a job. Don't try to look like secular bands so you can sell more albums or whatever. Thanks for listening. God bless y'all. Didn't mean for it to go so long. Pray for Colleen. I don't know where she is. I hope she's still around. I hope she's okay. I wish I could been better equipped to help at the time. There's a lot more like her. And deep generational curses. I talk about some in my book, Demons You're Kidding, right? That's on the website at fellowshipofthemartyrs.com. Maybe there's curses on your family that have been affecting you that need to be broken off. I've seen a lot of people get free of a lot of things when we start just applying the blood of Jesus to stuff they did or their parents did or whatever. For children born out of wedlock, for innocent blood curses, from war, from abortion, from all kind of things. It opens doors, and those doors remain open, and Satan is allowed then to come in and mess with everybody in that family tree, up and down, sideways. Anyway, God bless you all. Thanks for listening. May the Lord Jesus Christ lead us into the fullness of His truth. Nothing but the simplicity and purity and beauty of the gospel, that we could be who He made us to be and not try to be something else. In the name of Jesus. Amen.